Hey crafters, today I'm showing you how to create my super chic spooky skull hoop earrings. So what's great about these earrings is that they definitely have that dark edgy look, which is great for wearing to parties, especially Halloween type parties. If you don't go to parties because you're antisocial like me, you can just wear these every day because why not? We all love skulls, right? So you're going to first want to start out by just gathering all of your materials out in front of you so you don't have to go looking for anything in the middle of a tutorial. So you're going to want some wire cutters and flat nose pliers for your tools. You're going to want just some normal chain, some dainty cable chain like this. I've chosen a silver color scheme, but you can really go with any type of metal that you like. You can even do mixed metals for a boho look. Then of course you're going to want your crystals. So I have a range of sizes here. I've got some larger faceted crystals, some faceted rondelles, some rounds, and then even some little small bicones. It's great to have a mix of sizes for a more eclectic look. And it's just better to add smaller crystals up by your posts instead of a larger crystal because it just helps balance out the look. Then of course you're going to want your super sparkly crystal skulls. These are from Swarovski. I can put some links down below if you want to know where you can buy these online. You're going to need some hoops, some nice medium-sized 1.5 inch hoops. That works great. If you want a larger hoop for a more statement type look, go ahead and use a larger hoop. If you want a daintier look, you can definitely use a smaller hoop. And then of course we're going to need our wrapping wire. So I have two sizes, 24 gauge here and then 20 gauge. The 24 gauge is not that supportive of the crystals, so we're just going to use a little bit of this here and there to attach our chain to the hoops. The 20 gauge is what we're going to use to wrap on all the crystals because it just is a lot stronger and will hold the crystals tight to your hoop. To start creating our wrapped hoops, you're going to want to first cut about a 14-inch piece of 20 gauge wire. This is what we're going to use to wrap on all the crystals. Then you want to lay out your crystal pattern. It always helps to start and end with the smallest beads. The larger beads will go in the middle, and that's what's going to sit sort of at the bottom of the hoop here. If you do larger beads on the outside, it's just going to look really off balance and the crystals are not going to sit right. So I've got two 4mm bicones, a 6mm bicone, that Swarovski crystal skull, a larger faceted crystal, an 8mm faceted round, and then another 4mm crystal. So after you have this laid out, I'm just going to take it off to the side a little bit. You're going to take your hoop and you want to kind of start sort of someplace around here. This is where we're going to start and end wrapping so that the crystals are just laying on that bottom part there. So about 1.5 inches or so away from the end of the wire, you're just going to stick it inside the hoop and then do a few tight wraps around the hoop to secure that end of wire. This little part here, we can cut that off later, don't worry about that. Then after you've got a few wraps on there, you're just going to take your crystal, add it all the way on your other side of the wire, string it right on just like that. Then you're going to hold this crystal on the inside of your hoop like this. Just do another wrap. This secures the bead onto the hoop like this, and then just do one more wrap without any beads or anything to make sure it's really strong, just like this on there. Take your other crystal, next one in the pattern, then string it on just like you did for the first one. Situate it up right against that last one there, right on the inside of the hoop. Do one really tight wrap to sort of hold that crystal on the hoop. Do one more without a bead, pull nice and tight, and they're both going to be situated next to each other just like that. You're just going to keep stringing on your beads and then wrapping one wrap without any bead in between each crystal. So I've got this larger one here. Just going to hold this, wrap it nice and tight around the hoop, do one more, pull nice and tight, and they're just going to end up sitting next to each other in a nice row just like this. When you get to the skull, it's a little bit trickier because it's a bigger crystal. You're going to want to make sure it sits on the inside of the hoop just like this. So don't have it turn this way, don't have it turn that way, don't have it loose. Have it right up against the hoop like this. It kind of sits the best this way. Wrap it once, wrap it one more time so that it sits just like this and it faces out when you wear it. I'm just going to continue adding on the rest of these beads and then I'll meet you back here at the end. Alright, so I finished up that crystal pattern, again starting and ending with the smallest ones, and you can see how that creates a nice balance in the design. If you have any sort of odd shaped crystals like this, make sure they're sitting the right way before you wrap them, because if they're twisted or turned and you try to tie them on that tight wrap, you could either crack the crystal if you try to move it, or you could ruin your design. So make sure they're sitting perfectly before you start wrapping. At the end here, just like we did at the beginning, you're just going to wrap on a few tight wraps. I do about 3 or 4. And then with this excess wire here, just take your wire cutter, cut it like this, and then use your flat nose plier to bend it flush up against the hoop. Do this for the start of the wire as well. Cutting it, and then just bend it. So once the crystals are all wrapped on, we're going to definitely want to add some chain dangles. So I just like to take like a long length here. I didn't really cut a specific amount. Leave about, what, like a 3-inch tail, and then just sort of wrap it around the crystals. You definitely want to get that large center crystal wrapped. Maybe the skull too. Something like this, so it just looks kind of punk rock edgy. Anywhere where you see 2 chains meeting, especially like at this wrap and then at this wrap, to hold that tight, because if you don't do anything, it's just going to pull out. You're just going to take a small, tiny little piece of your 24 gauge wire, and then just insert it in between the links, catching each link. And then just create a very, very small wrap right up against this hoop here. Just twist with your fingers. Make sure it's nice and tight though. And then you can cut that tail off. All you need is a tiny little wrapped piece to just hold the chain links together. With this tiny little tail here, I'm just going to take the pliers and just bend it down so it sort of blends into that chain there. So that's going to hold this wrap right on that hoop there. If you didn't do that, it's going to pull right out. I'm just going to add probably another little wrap right here and then one right here, so I make sure that my chain wraps stay nice and in place. So after wrapping at all the points where the chain sort of meets the hoop, you can cut off the excess chain dangles if you like, and then you can also add some more tiny little chain drops as well. So maybe about 1.5 inches. I'm just going to add it to this point here. You can also add more longer drops if you'd like, depending on the overall piece that you want to make. So these are really great for making in all different sorts of colors. I've got a few more colors, like a black one and then an AB crystal that I'm definitely going to make some more hoops with. You can also use this technique if you don't like skulls. You can just use the plain crystals and wrap those on. Really change up the look depending on the sort of mood you're going for. So again, thank you for watching this tutorial. Have a great Halloween, and as always, stay crafty. Thanks guys. See you next time.